What is good, Guardian? Soldier Only here from Sports Nerd Web. Welcome to this week's episode of Destiny Unplugged. And wow, do we got a lot to get into this week. Uh, at first, when I was sent down to record this episode, I thought I was just going to be talking about yesterday's reveal stream, but uh, right before I went, when I was just doing a little bit of research before I hit record, there's actually there's actually a couple news stories that are popping up in the Destiny uh, universe, so to speak, uh, including a possible, and I think it's real, a Destiny 2 leak, including release date and beta this summer. But we'll get into that in a second. But as for yesterday's reveal stream, it was a pretty good stream. They showed off a lot of the new armor sets that we were going to be getting. I just put up a slideshow right there with some of the images, some of the stuff that they showed off. Uh, there's there's new gear sets coming from like the Vault of Glass, Crota's End, King's Fall. The Vex themed one from that you get from the Vault of Glass was really cool. I like how the hunter has like a Vex leg. The warlock, his boots are kind of like robotic, Vex looking, and the Bungie developer even said like you could see down into him and you could see like his feet aren't in his boots. So his legs were pretty much robotic, you know. So uh, and the Titan looked great. And what's really cool about some of the other gear sets, like the Crota's End, set and the King's Fall set, uh, in particular, the Crota's End one has like these like horns and green energy, and when you take damage and are hit, the armor will actually break up and like kind of hover around, and then when your life regenerates, the lights will come back on and the horns will grow back out and it regenerates. And what's also good about these gear sets is that now they're actually going to have 2 ornament slots. However, at the reveal stream yesterday, they only showed off one of the ornament slots. So I'm thinking that all these armor sets, I would imagine that you could probably change all the colors and everything with shaders and chroma and things like that. I'm guessing. I mean, that's how I think it would. I'm sure it will work. So. Um, and then they also showed off the Age of Triumph gear set that you will be able to get from the new loot boxes called the Treasure of Ages, and you will be able to earn 3 of these per week, and you get them from the new speaker quests that will be in Age of Triumph. They didn't really say too much about that, specifically about like the specific speaker quest or anything like that. So I'm really interested to check those out. And there's just a little part of an article that I'm going to read right here about the weapon changes because they did touch on a little bit of some of the new weapons that they're bringing back, and also some of the weapon changes as well. Along with Age of Triumph comes the return of elemental primaries. All raid weapons will be making a return as well, such as Fatebringer, Praetus, Revenge, and Vision of Confluence. Specials and heavies will remain the same. However, primaries will be different. When doing a raid, if the player gets a legendary drop, it will not have an element, but there will be an adept version of the primary. For example, Fatebringer will drop in either legendary form or as the new exotic form with elemental damage. We know, and with that being said, they will only drop when the raid is part of the weekly playlist. So this adept exotic version of the raid weapons will only drop when that raid is part of the weekly playlist. And we know that the first raid in the weekly playlist when Age of Triumph launches will be Crota's End. So if you get a primary drop, it will be the adept version. In other words, if you want a chance at an adept version of a weapon, you will need to try your hand at the weekly playlist raid. Speaking of Crota's End, Black Hammer will not make a return, so you will have to make do with Black Spindle, so there will be no 400 light version of Black Hammer, sadly. Another change has been made to an exotic weapon, and it's the Necrochasm auto rifle. It will now make all enemies explode when killed and damage adjacent enemies. Before, this only occurred after landing a precision kill, but now that perk will proc on any kill in general. They also took a look at ornaments for weapons such as Dragon's Breath, No Land Beyond, and Suros Regime. The Suros Regime one, they actually had two. They showed off two different ones. There was like a black and yellow one, and then there was one that was just like a inverted color scheme of the original color. And then the Dragon's Breath had like a tiger themed one that was pretty cool, and it looks like the mouth is around like the barrel, so it looks like the missiles you're firing are coming out of the tiger's mouth. And the No Land Beyond ornament was it was like a digital camo, so and it actually made it look really good. As for weapon changes, I'm stoked to be hearing this. There will be a slight boost applied to auto rifles, which will make Necrochasm a lot better than at present. Auto rifles will now be more potent at close range, and hand cannons are getting nerfed slightly by having their range dialed back about 3 meters. This is to put the weapons in a better position against the primaries to make them more viable. Also, the health regeneration nerfs have been rolled back slightly as well. Scory's Revenge is more balanced and will only trigger full super when a kill is landed. When the kill is landed and the super is full, this will speed the charge rate of super abilities for all nearby alibis for 1 minute. Again, if you get a kill while your super is full. Sidearms will respond with ammo as always, but now with only one magazine. Special ammo crates will also reload the player's weapon like how the heavy weapon crates work. There will be more detailed information once the patch notes for Age of Triumph are posted on Monday, March 27th. And like I said, Age of Triumph will go live on Tuesday, March 28th at 10 a.m. Pacific. So yeah, I'm stoked that you know the final live update is it's finally here, on Tuesday. So really looking forward to it. And then another quick thing before we get into the possible Destiny 2 leak. Age of Triumph will also add weekly vendor resets. This is actually just recent, like just barely posted on GameRant.com. Destiny's vendors are set to get a lot more active soon, as news comes that the weapons and gear offered by each NPC will rotate on a weekly basis, starting with Age of Triumph. It has been a somewhat popular fan request that Destiny's vendors, like the Crucible Quartermaster and the New Monarchy faction, would have their weapons and armor perks re-rolled on a more regular basis, and finally players are getting their wish. I have been wanting this for a long time, especially, I mean, people that are still playing Destiny like right now to this day are probably a lot like like me, because I'm trying to think how to word that, because that's a little sounds kind of wrong, but because Destiny, I mean, like me, I'm sure a lot of other players play a lot of Destiny. Like the diehards that are playing it, they play it every day. They have thousands of hours into it. So I have always wanted the vendor weapons, their roles and stuff to change, to update and change. So I'm glad that they're finally going to do that. The news comes by a Bungie sandbox designer, Josh Hamrick, who was answering a fan's question if, like in last year's April update, the vendors would be receiving new or different gear when Age of Triumph released. The answer to the question, asking about just one refresh, was a little more than expected. This is I think this is a quote from Josh Hamrick himself. While large expansions such as the Taken King and Rise of Iron bring full vendor resets with completely new armor and weapons, smaller updates merely change the perks on each piece of gear. But with Age of Triumph, fans will definitely want to keep an eye on the vendors after each weekly reset. Similar to the weekly ritual of checking the rolls on the Gunsmith's Arms Day weapons, dedicated fans will want to check each week to see if a weapon like the Wounded Scout Rifle at Future War Cult has anything new to offer. Weekly vendor resets affords new possibilities when it comes to weapon variety and increases the odds that players might find the perfect roll on their favorite weapons. What that means on the flip side is that current players should be sure to pick up any of the most popular vendor weapons pre-Age of Triumph, like the Wormwood sidearm that has found a dominant place in the Crucible after the February weapon balance patch. exactly. So yeah, this can work both ways, So obviously you want to get that wormwood, and also if you don't have the Crucible Quartermaster vendor palindrome, which has obviously been an excellent role for the palindrome. Thankfully, Destiny looks ready to provide players with a lot of legendary marks in order to buy weapons and armor each week from the vendors. The newly redesigned weekly activities section of the director doles out tons of legendary marks over the course of the week, so players who visit those playlists should have no problem picking up a god roll weapon if one were to appear. That's pretty much it on the news from that. So I'm I'm stoked. That's good news. I mean I mean to a lot it might seem like such a small change, but it's one for the better. I mean it's just another thing that changes every week from week to week on the weekly resets. So it gives another reason to check out all the vendors every week, and it's also going to be good for someone like me, like a content creator, because now and I'm probably gonna start doing this. We'll probably start doing uh, weekly reset videos with all the vendor roles on the weapons. So, but yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. But now, finally getting into the possible Destiny 2 leak. Uh, this this these images that I have up on the slideshow leaked from uh, it's well, yeah, it obviously just leaked online, but it's from like a GameStop in France or Paris, or from Paris or something like that. But I mean, this poster looks legit, and it really looks like it's taking like in a GameStop. Uh, the picture of the poster when you could tell it's like, yeah, that one right there where it's like farther back, and like you could tell it looks like it was like sitting on a desk and like someone just snapped a picture of it. It looks it looks like something that Bungie would do, and there's obviously a few things there's obviously a few bits of information and really huge and important bits of information that you can get from this. If you notice right above the Destiny 2 logo, it actually says September 8th, which is easy to translate to English, September 8th, which is a Friday. Not the usual Tuesday that we see video game releases, but Friday releases are becoming more and more popular as digital distribution becomes more and more popular. Because the Tuesday release has always been a staple in the brick and mortar uh, video game video game retail industry. So, um, and since this is in Europe somewhere, if it's September 8th, that could be a European launch date, to which that could mean maybe a possible September 5th in America, which would be the Tuesday. Maybe because that's if they do like a staggered launch to ease up stress on their servers, which I think would be a good idea to do, because look at the issue that happened at the Rise of Iron launch. And if they thought that a lot of people were playing on the Rise of Iron launch, Destiny 2 is going to be insane. So I personally think that they should either spend a lot of time beforehand and have their servers and have their networks and just everything in order, or hopefully maybe they stagger it like this to where it's like September 5th in America and then September 8th European and the rest of the world. Who knows? Another thing that we can garner from this is, if you notice in the top right corner, it has that blue PlayStation 4 exclusive content like logo that you see, uh, which I, which I kind of don't like seeing, because I know a lot of people in the community just want to get rid of this whole exclusive content thing. But if this is real, and it looks like that might continue in the future. So I mean, a few things uh, to know, as well as while it does look like common Destiny art and things like that, but it's also we've also never seen like any Destiny poster art with Guardians without helmets before or anything like that. Uh, so but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do anything. One thing I will say is how this is really subliminal. There's nothing. There's not like any exo or awoken or anything like that. From what you can tell, all the Guardians are human. The weapons aren't really like any like specific. I mean, you can't. I mean, one of them looks like the Warlock looks like he's holding like a Suros looking shotgun. That's kind of looks like the shape and of the chaperone. But other than that, they don't look like any specific weapons in Destiny 1. So that is very Bungie-like to have it really subliminal and not really like hinting at anything. Another thing to notice is that there's a lack of a subtitle, but I do like how they have the two really big, emphasizing the fact that it's a sequel, not like an expansion on to Destiny 1, that it's an actual like full-blown sequel, Destiny 2. But yeah, I mean this literally just came out not that long ago, so one thing to note really quick too is when possible leaks come out, Bungie is usually really quick to hop on Twitter and squash it. And so far, I mean, I've been watching the Twitterverse, and so far, Bungie hasn't said anything about it. So that is one thing that could kind of maybe lead you to believe that this could be legit. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see what comes of this, because this is still really new. This is really fresh, these images. So me personally, of course, I obviously want to. Actually, there's one thing I forgot to mention on this. If you notice in the bottom of the picture, it says something about a beta. I guess on the bottom of that image, it says something about a beta being in the summer, which I think would be good because that's going to generate a lot of hype. That's going to bring a lot of players back that left back in Destiny 1. And then maybe even people that hadn't even played Destiny at all, maybe Destiny 2 is their first introduction into the Destiny universe. So a beta this summer would be awesome to generate hype and get things rolling. And this all fits right in with the timeline. I mean, big leaks like this is usually about we usually see big leaks like this with Bungie normally about a month or 2 months before they've unveiled. That's how stuff has gone in the past with like Taken Keegan and Rise of Iron and all that. And this fits in the timeline with, we're only a couple months away from June, from E3, to where, that's where everyone's thinking that Destiny 2 is finally going to get officially unveiled. So, I mean, it's all fitting together. I personally obviously I want to believe that this is real and legit and that we finally do have a solid release date and, knowing that there's a beta this summer. But obviously we want to hear it from Bungie themselves. So like I said, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what comes of this because this is all still really new. But yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Destiny Unplugged. Exciting stuff. Stuff is really starting to pick up in the Destiny universe now. I mean, we've got Age of Triumph. With all of these weekly activities that is in Age of Triumph, it should carry us for a while, and hopefully through the summer. And then if this is true, we get a Destiny 2 beta in the summer, and then hopefully, if this is true, early September release. So we'll have to see. So if you like the video, hit that thumbs up button, sub to the channel for more content, and stay up to date with all this information. Follow me on Twitter at Sportsman48, and also check out if you want to catch my live streams. That's at twitch.tv/soldieronly. But thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Cheers.